Hello and welcome to my school channel. My name is Angela, and in this video we're going to continue looking at possible questions for Kabir Alabi-Gaba's the Lekki headmaster. So please stay with us, don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back to my school channel. Like I said earlier, we are going to be reviewing possible questions for Kabir Alabi-Gaba's the Lekki headmaster. So now we are moving on to questions 51 to 75. Let's begin with question 51. Why did the director of B's Way Group of School claim the ritual involving the cow was necessary? Option A, to pray for his late father who gave him the land. B, to bring in more pupils to the school. C, to appease the parents who had raised complaints. And D, to conduct a purification ceremony for the school. So the answer to this question is option A, to pray for his late father who gave him the land. And we can find this on page 41 of the novel, when after Mr. Bigbo had witnessed the ritual practice that was going on at B's Way Group of School, he went to confront the principal of the school. The principal gave him an excuse that the ritual was meant to appease his late father, or to pray for his late father who gave him the land to build the school. So we can find all of this information on page 41 of the novel. The answer to this question is option A. Question 52. What led to the closure of the school Bigbo started? Option A, poor road conditions in the neighborhood. B, parents' dissatisfaction with the curriculum. C, a failed spiritual ritual to attract more pupils. And D, mismanagement of school funds. So the answer to this question is option A, poor road conditions in the neighborhood. And we can find this on page 39 of the novel, where they discuss how they started Fruitful Future School, the school that Bigbo started before he went to work at Stardom School. So the reason this school closed up was because the roads around the school was worsening, and parents of the students who were attending the school were not okay with that road. The roads were getting bad, and the government was doing nothing about it. So most of the parents moved out of the neighborhood, and the parents that were left were not able to afford the school fees. We can find all of this information on page 39 of the novel. Option A is the answer to this question. Question 53. What was the cost of the form for the position of head boy or head girl in the school election at Stardom? Option A, 25,000 naira, B, 40,000 naira, C, 50,000 naira, and D, 60,000 naira. So the answer to this question is option C, 50,000 naira, and we can find this on page 41 of the text. So 50,000 naira was the amount that you paid in order to contest for the position of head boy or head girl in the school. You pay 40,000 naira in order to contest for the position of assistant head boy or head girl, and then you pay 25,000 naira for every other prefectship position at Stardom School. So option C, 50,000 naira, is the answer to this question. Question 54. What inappropriate remark did Banky make during speech day? Option A, Tosh was unqualified for the position. B, Tosh was the son of an ex-convict. C, Tosh bribed his way into the election. And D, Tosh lacked the required skill for the role. So the answer to this question is option B, Tosh was the son of an ex-convict. And we can find this on page 42 of the novel, where during speech day, Banky was trying to make a speech to represent himself, and then he brought down his adversary, Tosh. He was saying how Tosh is the son of an ex-convict and they should not vote for him, but rather vote for him. That's Banky. So you can find all of this on page 42 of the novel. Option B is the answer to this question. Question 55. Why was Tosh's father, Chief Ogba, detained for 36 months? Option A, he was an ex-convict for theft. B, he failed to pay a school debt. C, he was accused of fraud but acquitted later. And D, he faced trial for alleged misappropriation. So the answer to this question is option D, he faced trial for alleged misappropriation. And we can find this on page 42 of the novel, where we discover that Chief Ogba spent 36 months in detention for allegedly misappropriating 2.5 billion government contract sum. So all of this can be found on page 42 of the novel. Option D is the answer to this question. Question 56. Which of the following waterfalls is the highest in West Africa according to the novel? Option A, Gurara Falls. B, Erin Ijesha Waterfalls. C, Ikogosi Warm Springs. And D, Owu Waterfalls. The answer to this question is option D, Owu Waterfalls, and we can find this on page 44 of the novel, where the author tells us that Owu Waterfalls is one of the places that they visited, and it is the highest waterfall we have in West Africa. It has a height of about 220 feet and cascades down 330 feet down an escarpment. So, Owo waterfall in Kwara State is the highest waterfall in West Africa according to the novel. Option D is the answer to this question. Question 57. What is the primary reason Mr. Bekpo organizes excursions for the students at Stardom? Option A, to give them a good grasp of their country before they all go abroad. B, to promote Stardom as a school that values excursions. C, to prepare students for geography exams. And D, to encourage tourism in Nigeria. So the answer to this question is option A, to give them a good grasp of their country before they all go abroad. And we can find this on page 44 of the novel, where Mr. Bekpo was talking about how he wants all of the students to have a good grasp of their country. He knew most of the students came from elite families who, after their secondary education, would send them abroad for further education. So he wanted them to have a thorough understanding of their country before they go abroad. Option A is the answer to this question. Question 58. Which of the following festivals have the students attended? I. Calabar Festival, II. Osun Osogbo Festival, III. Agugun Festival, and IV. Abuja Carnival. So option A, we have I, and III only. Option B, I and IV only. Option C, II and III only. And option D, I, and IV. So the answer to this question is option A, I, and III only. So the students visited the Calabar Carnival, Osun Osogbo Festival, and Agugu Festival, but Abuja Carnival was not mentioned in the novel. So we can find this information on page 45 of the novel. Option A is the answer to this question. Question 59. How did Mr. Bekpo inspire students after they visited areas like Mushin and Ajegunle during their excursions? Option A, by promising to relocate them to better areas. B, by sharing stories of successful individuals who rose from slums. C, by discouraging them from visiting such areas again. And D, by giving them motivational books about success. So the answer to this question is option B, by sharing stories of successful individuals who rose from slums. So during their excursion to areas like Mushi, Ajegunle, and Ijora, the students derided these areas because they believed that they were slums. But Mr. Bekpo cautioned against that, saying that the fact that they were born in this area doesn't determine their success in life. So he explained this by giving examples of successful people who used their talent, their money, and opportunity to get out of the slums and to move to better areas like Banana Island. Then he gave examples of individuals like Victor Osimhen and Odio Igalo, who grew up in slums, but eventually became successful and moved to better areas of the country. We can find all of this on page 46 of the novel. Option B is the answer to this question. Do you know you can take practice questions with our simulated JAMB CBT past question? All you need to do is to go down to the link in the description below. This takes you to the My School website, or you can download the My School mobile app for your Android devices and the My School software for your laptops and computers. Please go ahead and start practicing. Now on to question 60. What was the source of the name Badagry according to the novel? Option A, it was named after the Badagry River. B, it was derived from Agbadarigi. C, it originated from a European explorer's name. And D, it was named after a nearby slave market. So the answer to this question is option B, it was derived from Agbadarigi. And we can find this on page 47 of the novel, where the students went to visit the Akran of Badagry. And the Akran of Badagry gave them so many different historical facts about the area. So he confirmed that the name Badagry was gotten from Agbadarigi. Option B is the answer to this question. I believe you're enjoying this content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release next videos. Question 61. What does Mr. Bekpo mean by the term new slavery? Option A, Africans willingly move abroad for better opportunities. B, the continuation of slave trade in some regions. C, the exploitation of Africans by modern companies. And D, Africans selling themselves into physical labor. So the answer to this question is option A, Africans willingly move abroad for better opportunities. And we can find this on page 47 of the novel, when he took a visit to the Heritage Museum and discovered all of those things that happened in the past, the slavery that occurred during the previous era. So he was talking about how we have a new slavery here in Nigeria, how Africans in Japafit voluntarily and desperately move abroad in order to join the workforce of those who seem to be our yester masters, our masters in those days. So the new slavery is Africans willingly moving abroad for better opportunities. Option A is the answer to this question. Question 62. Why was Mr. Bekpo moved during his visit to the Black Heritage Museum? Option A, he felt nostalgic about Nigeria's history. B, he was impressed by the museum's architecture. C, he empathized with the suffering of slaves in the past. D, he remembered his ancestors were involved in slavery. So the answer to this question is option C, he empathized with the suffering of slaves in the past. And we can find this on page 47 of the novel, where Mr. Gbekpo was deeply moved when he saw the relics at the Black Heritage Museum and when he listened to details that the museum officials told him. So he was reminded of the suffering that the people faced in the past during the transatlantic slave trade that occurred between 1500 and 1900. So he empathized with the suffering of these slaves. So option C, he empathized with the suffering of slaves in the past, is the answer to this question. Question 63. What is the meaning of the term Japa as used in the novel? Option A, the struggle for financial independence. B, to travel abroad in search of better opportunities. C, to resist colonial influence in modern times. And D, to work as a slave in a foreign country. So the answer to this question is option B, to travel abroad in search of better opportunities. So Japa, as used in the novel, means to travel abroad in search of greener pastures, to look for better working conditions and better pay salary. So all of these things are discussed in the novel. It is the central subject matter of the novel. Option B is the answer to this question. Question 64. Why was Mr. Gbekpo initially reluctant to renew his passport? Option A, he had lost his passport. B, he was too busy with his teaching duties. C, he had heard about the hassles applicants were facing. And D, he did not plan to travel abroad anytime soon. So the answer to this question is option C, he had heard about the hassles applicants were facing. And we can find this on page 48 of the novel. They discussed how Mr. Gbekpo had a phobia for renewing his passport because he heard that there were so many new rules and there were so many hassles that the applicants were facing. And also there was the non-availability of booklets for the passports. So all of this can be found on page 48 of the novel. Option C is the answer to this question. Question 65. How much was the official fee for a 10-year passport renewal? 64 pages. Option A, 250,000 naira. B, 100,000 naira. C, 1 million naira. And D, 70,000 naira. So the answer to this question is option D, 70,000 naira. And we can find this on page 49 of the novel, where Mr. Gbekpo was inquiring about how much it would cost to renew his passport. Although he paid 100,000 naira because he was advised that that would help to streamline the process and help him to get the passport faster. But 70,000 naira is the official fee for a 10-year passport renewal of 64 pages. Option D is the answer to this question. Would you like to have access to the summary and chapter-by-chapter analysis of Kabir Alabi Gaba's The Lekki Headmaster? If you would like to have that, please go down to the link in the description below. This takes you to my school website where you can have access to the complete summary and chapter-by-chapter analysis of the novel. Now on to question 66. Why did Gbekpo choose Ibadan for his passport renewal? Option A, it was closer to his location. B, he was advised that the process would be easier there. C, he had a friend who worked in immigration there. And D, the fees were lower in Ibadan. So the answer to this question is option B. He was advised that the process would be easier there. So we can find this on page 48 of the novel, where we're told that Gbekpo understood that it was easier to get the passport in neighboring states like Ogun, Osun, Kwara states and the likes, because the process would be easier there because there were no long queues as it is in Lagos State. So he settled to get his passport in Ibadan, Oyo State. You can find this on page 48 of the novel. Option B is the answer to this question. Question 67. What can be inferred about Tai's role in the passport renewal process? Option A, he is a middleman exploiting applicants. B, he was a legitimate immigration officer. C, he was an honest businessman offering his services. And D, he was unaware of the actual renewal process. So the answer to this question is option A, he is a middleman exploiting applicants. And we can find this on page 52 of the novel. They talked about how Tai was just a business center operator and not an immigration officer, but he was working in cahoots with an immigration officer. The novel also stated that although some people might brand him as a consultant, others brand him as a racketeer. So all of this suggests that Tai's role in the passport renewal process is that he's a middleman trying to exploit applicants in order to get some money from them. So option A is a middleman exploiting applicants is the answer to this question. Question 68. What does the phrase "in cahoots" most likely mean in the context of Tai and the immigration staff? Option A, in conflict with. Option B, secretly collaborating with. C, officially associated with. And D, unknowingly assisting. So the answer to this question is option B, secretly collaborating with. So the phrase in cahoots means to secretly collaborate with someone in order to exploit or deceive other people. And from the way it is used in the passage, how Mr. Bepo eventually discovered that Tai was not an immigration officer but was a business center operator who was trying to work with an immigration officer to get more money out of people who are trying to apply for passport renewal. All of this suggests that they are secretly collaborating. That is, Tai and the immigration officer are secretly collaborating with each other in order to exploit people who are trying to apply for passport renewal. So option B, secretly collaborating with, is the answer to this question. Question 69. Why does Mr. Bepo delay his flight to the UK? Option A, the airline cancels the flight. B, he is required to attend a farewell celebration. C, he needs to finalize his resignation paperwork. And D, he has a last-minute meeting with the MD. So the answer to this question is option B, he is required to attend a farewell celebration. So we can find this on page 54 of the novel, where we discover that Mr. Bepo had to delay his flight to the UK in order to attend the farewell celebration that was organized by Stardom School. So the school also offered to pay the $100 fine that came with the delay or the alteration of the flight schedule. So we can find all of this on page 54 of the novel. Option B is the answer to this question. Do you have a question? Please feel free to ask your question by going down to the link in the description below. This takes you to the My School website where you can ask your question and the solution will be provided to you within a short period of time. Now on to question 70. What Yoruba adage does Mr. Bepo recall after the debate at the farewell celebration? Option A, a wise man never leaves his work unfinished. B, the work of a teacher outlives their time. C, success is not final, failure is not fatal. D, even if the master carver retires, his carvings remain. The answer to this question is option D, even if the master carver retires, his carvings remain. And we can find this on page 55 of the novel, where he used a Yoruba adage which actually means that if Onirese, the master carver, retires, his carvings will continue to remain. He was using this to illustrate the fact that his students will continue to grow despite the fact that he's leaving for the UK. So all of the things that he has imparted onto the students will continue to make them to grow in spite of the fact that he's no longer present. So option D, even if the master carver retires, his carvings remain, is the answer to this question. Do you have a better explanation or solution to any of these questions? If you do, go down to the comment section below, indicate the question number and the solution you'd like to share. Question 71. Why does Mr. Bepo yell no during the drama club performance at the farewell celebration? Option A, he was disappointed with the dance. B, he is overwhelmed by memories of the Heritage Slave Museum. C, he feels the performance is disrespectful. And D, he disagrees with the students' portrayal of history. So the answer to this question is option B, he is overwhelmed by memories of the Heritage Slave Museum. So we can find this on page 55 and 56 of the novel, where while the students were performing the canoe dance of the Badagry people, he is immediately taken back to the Black Heritage Slave Museum that he visited in Badagry, where he experienced some of those things, the harsh realities of slavery during the slavery era. So it brought back all of those memories, all of those feelings that he experienced while he was at the Heritage Slave Museum. So this is the reason why he yells no in front of the students while they were performing. So option B, is overwhelmed by memories of the Heritage Slave Museum, is the answer to this question. Question 72. What was the farewell gift presented to Mr. Bepo? A framed picture of the staff and students. B, a plaque commemorating his years of service. C, a check for $10,000. And D, a plane ticket to his new destination. So the answer to this question is option C, a check for $10,000. And we can find this on page 58 of the novel, where the MD presented a check of $10,000 to Mr. Bepo, the highest amount the school has ever given a teacher who was leaving the school. So option C, a check for $10,000, is the answer to this question. Question 73. At what time is Mr. Bepo's flight to the UK scheduled to depart? Option A, 5 p.m. Option B, 10 p.m. Option C, 1 p.m. and option D, 8 p.m. So the answer to this question is option B, 10 p.m. And we can find this on page 59 of the novel, where he is set to jet out with the Emirates airline by 10 p.m. on Saturday. So option B, 10 p.m. is the answer to this question. Question 74. Who offers to drive Mr. Bepo to the airport? Option A, Mrs. Grace Akpe. Option B, Mr. Oyelano. Option C, Mr. Ogunwale. And option D, the Stardom accountant. So the answer to this question is option C, Mr. Ogunwale. Mr. Ogunwale, the landlord of his apartments at Adeni Jones, Ikeja, is the one who offers to drive Mr. Gbegbo to the airport. This was after he came to visit him for the last time and to offer his prayers to him. So option C, Mr. Ogunwale, is the answer to this question. Question 75. Why did Mr. Gbegbo's wife insist he should pack for his trip to the UK? Option A, locust beans, egusi, ground crayfish and dry snail. B, new clothes and electronics. C, fruits and water. And D, his passport and essential documents. So the answer to this question is option A, locust beans, egusi, ground crayfish and dry snail. And we can find this on page 60 of the novel, where Mr. Gbegbo's wife advised Mr. Gbegbo to pack iru or locust beans, egusi or melon seeds, ground with crayfish and some dry snail when he was coming to the UK. So option A, locust beans, egusi, ground crayfish and dry snail is the answer to this question. I believe you're enjoying this content. If yes, please don't forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos.